in analytics, perhaps I'm going to throw a slightly different paradigm right now, which we've been talking about. So we have been talking till now is how this push form of analytics or push form of innovation will work. We have large set of data, we have very interesting technologies, we find some new pattern, and then we actually go and figure out what is the need for that particular pattern or that particular insight, and how can I innovate and build tool on that. I want to move this paradigm to a pull form of innovation. I am a business leader. I face day to day various problems for which I need to make decisions. I should have someone in a machine who is able to prescribe me what decision I need to take and should be able to bring some bit of authenticity to my decision. And that's where the innovation will start. And that's why perhaps it's a slightly complicated subject which always keep on moving between technology or the IT leaders and the business leaders and oscillate between the two. Because the innovation is not purely going to come from technology. So if I break down the life cycle of analytics, there are three different areas where innovation is possible. You can innovate in form of technology. We all know that. Can I increase my computing speed? Can I do some bit of cognitive computing? Can I embed analytics into a system? Can I do some kind of thing on technology which gives me better result? Yes, that's one form of innovation. The second form of innovation will come in terms of the data and the users of data. Which data I'm going to use, how creative I can become in terms of using multiple form of data, and I will give you example of that. And the third form of innovation is going to come is how I interpret that trend to be used and prescribe a solution. My personal sense is that we have done quite a lot of work in terms of finding out technology innovation. We have done some bit of work in finding out the type 2, which is a data type of innovation. We have done some work where we have been able to match 1 and 2. Like for example, Google is a fantastic example of 1 and 2, where technology had matched with the data. Google does not create its own data, by far. It only makes sure that how will I match the data with multiple data which is already existing in the system with the technology advancement and do some kind of analytics. And the third is where we haven't done too much of work, or we have perhaps done least work, is what I need to solve for and how shall I solve for with the help of the frugal system which I will have with the help of data and technologies which are building up. And that's a fairly interesting concept, and I remember we had multiple discussions on that, at least in the MIT Research Lab. The whole concept, how the technology has evolved, and all of us have been working in technology for various years, is the concept of building an enterprise-wide system where I have a system which will solve all my technological or digital needs. Whereas analytics is changing that basic concept and saying that, do I need that system? I have to solve for what time it's going to take from Salt Lake to Taj. It should not need too big a system. I just need a simple answer. The time is going to take is 45 minutes plus minus 5 minutes with 95% probability. That's good enough for me to take a decision whether I'm going to go or not. And I think that's where we need. As somebody rightly said, and I think Souvik was talking about some insight, I don't need to know whether it's going to rain and what time it's going to rain. I need to know, shall I carry an umbrella outside today or not? And that's an important part of the whole innovation angle when it comes to analytics. And the way it's been done, as I said, there are three different stages. You can actually innovate in any of those stages to actually get that innovation. I'll give you a couple of examples, and very small examples. So, Singapore actually started, and the problem was, in the rush hour, their metro stations are almost overfull. And they were always fearing that you can actually have stampede at the station because it's overcrowded. It's a safe city, they believe that. They looked at all kind of data. They looked at footfall data, this and that, to predict how should and what should they do. They couldn't find an answer. What they did, they actually put thermal sensors inside in the station. So at least there are about 7 stations in Singapore which has thermal sensors. So as the thermal sensors actually capture the crowd inside the station, interestingly, that's not important. The important part is they change the frequency of the train which fly on the track. The train which can actually move from 2 minutes per train to about 7 minutes per train. And that's completely controlled based on what is the crowd in the stations or the peak stations in that particular track or that metro line. Now that's where the analytics is. That's where the use of analytics is. It's not only given them the safety part, it also have reduced about, I think, 6% and 6.5% in the total cost of operating trains. Because they were only not increasing the frequency, they were decreasing the frequency also. They were able to make it clearly how they're going to monitor it. Another example, a very simple practical example. Most of the companies, when they build their channel in the market, they look at, which is typically done by the sales department, they actually evaluate whether they have to have their own showroom or a franchisee or a third party, and they do all kind of a cost analysis and the sales analysis. This is done by sales guy. Then the finance guy will come in, he will look at it from a pure financial angle and say whether the ROI of that particular outlet will come or not come. Then the strategic guy or a CEO will come in and say, oh, this particular area is very important, I need to be present in this area, let's have the station. About 3 years back, we actually developed a tool which is completely coming backward, not forward, which actually is patented tool, is what we call a channel analytics tool, where we have tried to merge all the 6 or 7 form of data which is coming, overlaid it with third-party data and the social media data which we are generating on that, and literally which can say what kind of success probability. You can't predict 100% by any kind of analytics. Forget about it. Means if I can predict 100%, I should not be sitting here, I should be sitting somewhere else very, very clearly. You can always predict with some level of probability. So the tool actually helps you to predict what kind of probability you have of success of an outlet if you open it here. What kind of a success you have if the outlet is opened with a franchisee in that same place or a third party in the same place. Now then you can make a decision based on it. Analytics is another thing which is thought and which we are saying more and more with the machine coming in, is analytics is going to replace people. I don't think. It's no way a decision making body. It's a decision aiding body. So the whole technology is to help you in aid you in taking decision. It by no way, and wherever the artificial intelligence may go, is going to replace the decision which you or one as a business leader has to take as a human being. The decision lying responsibility still lies there. I'll give you one perhaps last example before I switch on to the last point. In US, and I'm sure most of us would have done the US healthcare work, there's a lot of work which happens in the claim data. I mean, literally, most of the US guys are health insured, and whenever they visit a physician or a doctor, he writes something, and if some claim company pays him, that is called claim. So whatever the prescription is, that's called claim. There's a lot of work on the claim data in terms of figuring out fraud, misuse, can I reduce the cost by reducing the prescription, can I reduce all of those things. Very interestingly, when Obamacare came about 2-3 years back, there was very good analytics which was done. And they found out we can keep on reducing cost till a point. But beyond a point, if you start reducing cost, it starts impacting care. That's not the right solution. But why the 50% of global healthcare budget goes in US, which only owns about, whatever, 5% of global population. So why there's so much of healthcare spending over there? The analytics told us, and it's a very interesting fact, is US, the actually fee is by per service. So if I am a doctor and you visit me more often, I get to earn more. So my objective is to treat you in a longer term rather than in the shorter term. The whole concept which now the care guys are doing in US, and there's a lot of hue and cry on that, is can we move this per service basis to an outcome base? Now healthcare is something which you can't make outcome based. If I suddenly tell you that you will only get one doctor visit, and that if you don't get treated, then there's a big problem, it's a moral issue. So what they start saying is that, okay, can I make sure that there's an incentive if you have to have a relapse, or if there's a disincentive or there's a punishment to a doctor in some form if there's a relapse happens. So I'll tell you how the treatment works. So the way it works is that you go to doctor treats you and recommends you to a rehab center. You go to the rehab. After 6 months when you come back to the doctor, it basically means the rehab has not done the work well, or doctor has not recommended you to the right rehab center. The both in the next round will actually get reduced claim rather than the 100% claim. So they will get only 90%. The third round they got only 80%. So doctors are now looking at, can I actually do it far more faster, clearer, and get the result as an outcome based. and there's an equivalent kind of an incentive which has been made to solve it faster and get patient treated well. So that's the way the whole analytics is changing, the way the whole business is being done, rather than looking at this. And because if you look at business life cycle, it will throw up multiple opportunities of innovation where small areas of analytics will come and emerge. So I will stop here, but we can talk more in the Q&A session.
Thank you so much. Gentlemen and ladies, we are through with this. I would have loved to have a few questions, but given that we are way behind time, I thought of winding it up right now. So the speakers will be here. You can always catch them in the corridors and talk to them. So thank you very much, and see you again in the next session.
Thank you, Mr. Mukherjee. Now I would request Mr. Ambarish Dasgupta to kindly come up to the stage. And I would request if you could give it to Mr. Pritish Mukherjee, to Mr. Anil Modi, to Mr. Maulay Baran, to Mr. Kaushik De, to Mr. Shobhik Dash, Mr. C. N. Raghupati, Mr. Arnab Basu, and Mr. Amit Khanna. Thank you all. We'll be starting the next session, which is on the role of institutions, the key partners, immediately. We have very eminent dignitaries at the dais. We would like to invite Dr. A.S. Ramashastri, please. Dr. A.S. Ramashastri, if you could kindly come up to the stage, sir.